I have played that video clip because that 40-second clip tells you who exactly is on the street. And you look at the singing, the chanting, you can see the spirit of patriotism. Contrary to what people think, the young people, the Gen Z that are on streets are patriotic Kenyans. Ladies and gentlemen, in this podcast, I want us to look at the son to Martin Luther King Jr., who is in the country, Kenya, and have sent a solidarity message, and have sent a message to President Ruto. And I want to believe that message is very heavy. This is coming at a time where the nation is at crossroads. What exactly is going to happen? And how can we get ourselves out of this? By the way, it's very important to start thinking, what is the exit strategy? What is the post-protest scheme? One, there is every reason for this administration to worry. Tonight, there was a Twitter space that was going on. Believe me, 120,000 Kenyans streamed in that space. And if you listen to the speeches and how people are talking there, there is a lot of anger. And I want to believe the president and the intelligence team were following that. I want to believe they're all there. If you listen to that, you will understand that the country Kenya is dealing with a deep-rooted crisis. The deep anger na watu wamekasirika. People are really mad. Even if you look at the language people are using there, those are doctors, those are lawyers, those are professionals. The language they're using there should be worrying to anyone. And I saw Nelson Harvey was there, and while there he did a tweet, and it's a tweet that really was a bit interesting, because if you look at what the people are saying, there is a discussion of, are people going to State House or not? Towards the end of this video, I'm going to also put up my voice on that. I don't know. I don't know what you think. Yeah, what do you think? What do you think? Now, the Nelson Harvey did this tweet, and after listening to that Twitter chat, he's saying, I have listened to the People's Assembly in the Twitter space. It is evident that people are not pacified. They want change in executive and legislature now. Way out, constitute IBC ASAP, dissolve parliament in reliance upon CJ Maraga's advice, and conduct a general election. Of the three things he's spoken about, there is something that is very evident. People are not pacified. The statement by the president today of saying, I'm conceding, I'm backing down, I'm withdrawing the bill, it did not convince anyone. It did not. I can tell you it did not. And let me just get you one video from that discussion.
Common point for everybody, but you also need to understand that we are warring spiritually as well. Nobody gets that to amass that kind of power without submitting to a higher authority somewhere. And so if these people, they are submitting their allegiance to demonic kingdoms, powers of darkness, we also need to submit our allegiance, because the voice of the people is the voice of God. And we are warring from a place of victory already. And so as some of us go to the streets, or all of us, or most of us, let those that can get on their knees also war in the spirit, because we have to win both sides, guys. Life is also spiritual. These guys, they are not only stealing our money, they are stealing our destinies, they are stealing our voices. They are killing us. They are stealing our stars. They are stealing our destinies, our creativeness. They are stealing everything.
So people are so emotional and they're breaking down in tears. people are feeling it's not really, and now this is turning to something to, it's really looking very ugly, not what really maybe people underestimated. Now, the speech with the president seemed to have been rejected. And talking about 3 layers of security operations, I need to reiterate something here. Let's not talk about how we have security apparatus, how we have the police, the KDF, and so and so. What we are dealing with is not going to be solved by the bullet. Because even if you suppress a voice and people retreat because they're suppressed by the bullet and that, but do you know that tomorrow you still need to govern the country? Yes. You still need to move. You still move to a church. You still need to go and launch a project. You still need to move. So it's not true. And I believe those who are looking at a solution of police, I don't think that's the solution. And to make you understand that better, I want to play for these 2 sound bites. I think I got them all over in social media. And look at what this Shosho is saying. And I picked that Shosho and also that young lady there.
Nimesikia hata uchungu mwingi sana wakati hii. Afadhali mungenipeleka pale kwa mili ya watoto ya mama. Watoto ya Ruto wamekufa. Mnasuia wabunge 28, mnaua watoto 500. Hiyo moyo nani atalipa? Ama damu ijatosha kukunywa na Ruto duniani? Hajatosha damu. Alitumaliza Eldoret. Mimi ni mmoja wa kumalizwa Eldoret. Tena anatufuata mpaka huku. Lakini ni ubaya yetu sababu tuliambiwa na hatukusikia. Ruto aambiwe finance bill si kubwa kuliko watoto. Yes. Finance bill si kubwa kuliko dunia. Na ajue sasa hii ni mwanzo. Hajawamaliza. Wako uhai na wamebaki wengi kuliko wale ameua. Hasikii hata huruma aone watoto ya watu wa jamani. Ruto ni nini anataka? Msimuniambie hata nyinyi.
Anataka tuishe.
Si ana uwezo wa kusema now finance bill isiende na hiyo vita ikuishe. Anasema iendelee. Naye wabunge wananunuliwa kama wanawake. Wabunge ya Kenya wamekuwa wanawake. Si tafadhali tuvae suruali sisi wa mama. Mimi nimesikia uchungu surely. Mimi hata afadhali muniue muache watoto.
The young generation.
Yeah, afadhali mtuue sisi wase. Mmetuashia nani? Sasa huyo kijana amekufa hapo. Mama yake amewashwa na nani? Ama baba yake. Akituua ataongoza nani shaitani? Ngoja niwase kuongea. Mungu ni ambaye ninaomba. Uchomee Ruto dege juu. Ungoje uonge. Mungu ninaomba.
I'm so disappointed with this government. Yale tumeona leo hapa Kenyatta ni mambo ya maajabu. It's like a massacre to our children. Ruto, why are you killing our children? Kwa nini unaua watoto wetu Ruto? This is a massacre for our children. You have decided to kill our children. You will also die one day. Our prayer, we were not voting for you to come and finish us. Umetumaliza na njia zote Ruto. Umetumaliza kibiashara. Umetumaliza na kila kitu. Watoto wetu hawasomi. Tunakuja hapa hospitali. NHF umetumalizia. Hatujui unataka kutupeleka wapi Ruto. But one thing I would tell you, I will address you as Ruto. Wachana na watoto wetu. Demonstration ya watoto wetu, it was peaceful. Awache watoto wetu wa demonstrate na wasikize. Finance bill hakuna kitu inamaanisha kwa hii nchi. Sio hiyo kubwa kuliko sisi, ama sio kubwa kuliko wazazi ama watoto. Kwa hivyo aseme no, we are saying no to that financial bill. Hatuitaki. Ajue hivyo watu wote hawaitaki, na si ukabila, sio Mkikuyu ama Mjaluo ama Mluya ama Mkamba ama Mtaita. Ni sisi wote tumesema no.
You know what the president of Kenya is not aware of? Is that the people, the children, my age mates, whom is fighting on the streets, are actually an evolved version of him. We are not our parents. There's something in science called evolved DNA strands. The children today on the streets can actually see right through you. We are not gullible and you cannot easily manipulate us. We know very clearly that you are in that position because you are put there by a few people. And they had their own interest at heart. Now that you are there, you are serving their interests at our expense. We agreed to let it go, how you got to that position. Our problem is you are still serving the interests of your masters. Neo-colonization is actually a thing that this generation can see through very clearly. This is why you sent our men to Haiti without consulting the general consensus around that situation. Your punitive tax, you're not even open-minded enough to actually listen when people tell you we are rejecting that bill. You keep insisting on taking it through. And yesterday, you even went the extra mile of shedding the blood of the very Kenyans that put you on that seat just to defend your colonial masters. Now here is the truth. Yesterday, you signed your very first resignation out of that office. It might not happen immediately, but yesterday you officially talked to the people of Kenya and said, I'm done with this job. Even if you didn't say it verbally, you said it with your action. Because at no point are you ever going to convince this generation that you mean well for them. Because when they came at you with flags in their hands on a peaceful demonstration, you sent them back with bullets and death at their doorstep. This is going down in the history books. We are no longer in a generation whereby you think history is going to be manipulated. You are going down in the history book as one of the perpetrators that sided with colonial masters in a modern day age to take out the African child. And you might use force on the streets. You might use the powers you currently enjoy. And you might think you're suppressing the rage that is currently going on amongst the young people. What you are not aware of is that you've actually planted a seed that is sprouting against you. The people you're seeing on the streets is only a third of us. The generation right now that is fighting you is very awoke. It means they're not just fighting you in the physical realm. They're coming at you from all corners. There are people in the mountains kneeling down right now. The people in the rivers invoking their ancestors. The people touching Mother Earth and calling for action upon you, upon your administration, and upon your family who are standing by watching this happen. Whatever is coming down on you, even you are not ready for it. And your arrogance won't even allow you to listen to the few voices of wisdom asking you to put down your tools and arrive at an understanding. Yesterday you killed any room for democracy. Yesterday you killed any room for dialogue or negotiation. Yesterday you told the African voter, the Kenyan voter, that they don't matter. And it's people outside who have other interests at heart that actually matter to you. So you go down in the history books as one of our colonizers. And I really feel bad for the children of the people currently in power. Because they might get away with it. They might be gotten out of office. They might actually get away with it. But you know who's going to carry the bloodshed that happened yesterday? It's your generation. So if I was someone like Ruto, I'd be very, very, very worried. Because look at the burden this man is bringing upon me. Can you open your eyes? Can you open your eyes to reality? Nobody is buying the bullshit anymore. You don't mean well for this country. If you meant well, you look at the complaints people bring out and look at how do you cut your budget in-house and compensate for whatever budget you needed currently and not at the expense of the taxpayer. But no, something lies to the Kenyan voted leaders that somehow once you are on that seat, it's all upon you. We are coming for you. And the crazy thing is you can't even match up to our intelligence. Because you are an evolved DNA. We are an evolved version of you. So please watch this space. If I were you, I'd be very careful.
Our central bank. It's like these two people, they know hiyo pesa ya Eurobond ilitembea namna gani. Huyo tuge wako huyo na huyo governor wako. So if you want to fight corruption, start by sacking those people and they should tell Kenyans where did that money ya Eurobond ilienda. Ilienda wapi? Tell them. Then number two, you have also just talked about that mambo na sijui umeongea sijui nini, hata sisi kwa nasikia vizuri vitu zingine. Watu hata wataki hiyo mambo ya 2% insurance, watu warudi kwa NHIF. Watoto wa secondary school wanapata hata pesa ya capitation. Tunataka tu revise ile. Uliongea mambo ya Klinka simiti mlipata ikiwa 700 shillings. Sasa hii simiti inaenda na pesa ngapi? 900. Na tuko na Klinka hapa which could have made hiyo simiti bei ya simiti kuwe chini, bei ya chini. What benefit are we even if we are using our own? When we are using mafuta unaongelea mambo ilikuwa whatever, simulipata kama iko 154, so urudishe hapa 154 tuongee. Hata hiyo forex nyinyi ndio mlirushura ikaenda mpaka 160 na mlipata kama ni 134, if that is the bei ya kununua where it was. Wakenya si wajinga. So what we are trying to say is that mambo ukiongea mambo na waruzi juu kutoa wapi, why can't we empower our waruzi farmers wetu wa hapa ikuwe cheaper? People will also be exporting, will be coming to import from Kenya. Simple mathematics. Let us make our things. If you want to talk about the furniture, can we empower people and have the capacity so we can also export furnitures? If you're talking about the diapers that are coming whatever the way you had proposed, why can't we have the factories that can produce more in Kenya, then we can start to export? Simple as that. Mimi naona hata nikisimama president 2027 naweza shinda huyu Ruto nikisimama na yeye hata 2027 kura. Mwache kutubeba ujinga sasa pia nyinyi na nyinyi watu wa Kenya kwanza.
They're speaking something. And if there is something to grasp from it, is that people are not happy with how things are turning. It opens up the picture. Even now, because of the killings, the direction I've seen today, people talking about people need to show solidarity with the dead. By the way, if you can go and donate blood, me donated recently, during the flooding. So just to support some people that are affected by the floods. So I cannot donate. But I wish if you get time, you can just get to Kenyatta Hospital and donate blood. It will help in a simple way, in a simple gesture. You shall also have done something. Civil rights activist Martin Luther King Jr. is known for his adoption of nonviolence resistance to achieve equal rights for Black Americans that earned him the Nobel Prize of the year 1964. And the son is in the country now, flew in the country today and delivered a message that I want us to hear. This message from Martin Luther King, not King Charles, Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, who are currently visiting Kenya. They send encouragement and solidarity on nonviolent action that it can change the world. Listen to this.
My dear friends, I'm Martin Luther King III.
I'm Andrea Waters King.
My father, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and my mother, Coretta Scott King, held an unwavering commitment to nonviolence and civil rights, which transformed the landscape of America and inspired movements for justice and equality worldwide.
We stand before you today on your land, here in Kenya, not as strangers, but as fellow travelers on the road to peace, justice, and equity. The world watches the nation of Kenya. As Kenyans take to the streets to make your voices heard in protest, we implore you to remember the profound power of nonviolent protest. Nonviolence is not merely a tactic, It is a profound expression of moral courage.
Dad said, nonviolence is a powerful and just weapon, which cuts without wounding and ennobles the man who wields it.
We are deeply saddened by the tragic deaths of protesters and the violence in burning parts of the Parliament building. We implore protesters and security forces to use nonviolent tactics at this time.
The greatest legislative strides my dad and his team were able to make, such as the passing of the Civil Rights Act, were realized through nonviolent tactics. My parents envisioned a beloved community, a society based on justice, equal opportunity, and love of one's fellow human beings.
Martin Luther King Jr. said, in the nonviolent struggle, there is room for everyone. There is no distinction of color, no requirement other than a steadfast commitment to justice, courage, and love. We urge you to let your protest be a testament to your dignity and discipline.
Kenyans and security forces, the world is watching. Show the world your voices. Rise not in anger, but in a harmonious call for justice. Dad said, at the center of nonviolence stands the principle of love.
Love for your country, love for your fellow citizens, and love for a future where justice prevails. As you protest, please do so with love in your hearts.
We will continue to strengthen the chorus for love and promote a more just society envisioned by my parents, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King.
But recently, William Ruto visited the museum of the Martin Luther King. And I remember when we were analyzing the US trip, we said, oh, we would have seen some change in social rights. This is coming in the wake of abductions and the arrests and violation of human rights. Even a doctor was shot dead, a doctor who was just offering humanitarian aid. And it's something that has really shocked the country. 5 radical changes Ruto must do. And first, before I look at that, the presence of Martin Luther King is very significant. I think the message of Martin Luther King, of the Son. And that message is very significant because it's also the voice of America. So they're passing a message to Ruto. I understood that, Meg Whitman, the ambassador, had to be flown out of the country. And even at the airport today, there is outflags. There's a lot of people are leaving the country. Many foreigners are leaving the country, just looking at what's happening. 5 changes, radical changes Ruto regime should make. The country is slowly, it's not getting into the right direction. We cannot bury our heads in the sand, and I agree this country belongs to us. We cannot bury our heads in the sand. And there is an urgency to look into this because I have seen a strategy, I've seen the call. The guy was speaking in Mombasa, I've also seen some people speaking in the social media that let the Gen Z present someone to go and talk to negotiate or rather to dialogue with the government. That is... This thing is a social movement. It's a public movement. It's not. It doesn't have a leader. And who is that leader? Because I've seen Hanifa this night has been telling people that don't go to State House, and people have turned against her. Yes, people have turned against her in Twitter. I've seen. If you check Hanifa, check her Twitter page. People are telling her that you've been bought. Boniface Mwangi was saying that on Tuesday he was trying to tell some protesters to go home past 5 because now the state will take advantage and things might turn ugly for them, and he was chased. So you will understand that even if President Ruto was, and I'm looking at that strategy, I'm looking at that column like, what are these people even thinking? Because if President Ruto was to get someone, even if today I offer myself that I want to negotiate, that I'm going to represent the Gen Z in that table, where do I get the legitimacy from them? Did you see protesters sitting and electing someone to go and represent them? No. How do you point out? And when you do that, that person already turns to be an enemy. When Odinga joined that chat, that space, and she was insulted and had to leave. So no one is spared. Government representatives the other day, Isaac Mwaura, Murkomen, Senator Cheriot, CS Murkomen, Senator Cheriot, Mwaura, they tried. Even President joined at one point and had to leave. So it has reached a time when the conventional way of bringing people on table, then saying we are offering this to do this. This is not a workers' union protest where you call the representatives, you call the NAT and the representatives to the table and negotiate the whole day and say give this, stop. No one. The only people that have the power to call off the protest and bring peace is not any sort of a representative, but those in power. Because that is where the problem is. That is what the protesters are talking about. So let's stop looking for leaders of Gen Z. And I want to tell quick things the president should do. One, they stop that. I think president must call the UD House into order. Rigathi was asking in Mombasa, we should start asking. The government should start asking themselves where the rain started beating them from. And I listened that trip, I was like, that's sarcasm from Rigathi. Rigathi Gachagua is one of the person that was spewing venom in this country, talking about shareholders left, right and center. And at one point recently, Ruto must call his political team to order. The messaging must subside. The deputy was in somewhere just 2 weeks ago and saying, while when you are meshiba, those who are full should not vomit on those who are angry, because now they have power. Of course, was referring to, his fallout with the president and the team. So there is something you also need to agree, that UDA must fix their politics. Just this night, some junior staff, social media manager Rigathi Gachagua is saying that they have been removed in some WhatsApp group belonging to government or something. Now, they should fix that house, but they should go and fix that UDA house first. And fixing that UDA is, get it right. The MPs just voting and saying that cannot question the president. The president should allow the MPs to question him. It's very ironical. MPs voted for the bill, yes. Then when the bill is taken to State House, president calls them and they says we're returning the bill and they're clapping. I was like, now who is stupid here? Who is this? The person who? How can you clap that the bill is being returned while you voted yes for the bill? I looked at it, I was like, what are we really looking at? So I think the president must call the Rigijis. In fact, the following: Rigathi, Oscar Sudi, the Kibet, Ichungwa, that team, they should tone down, because we're dealing with anger. If you listen to how people are talking bad. People are saying, you guys are the Tumbis, the Kimani, the Mutengujis. Those people should tone down. That's number one. Because people are feeling like they are insulting them. Number two, corruption is hurting the masses, Mr. President. That's the problem, where the problem is. I don't know whether you can get a silver bullet. I don't just know. But there's a big problem. People are feeling, how can someone donate 20 million in a church fundraiser? Surely. So people say this is corruption money. CSS moving with a huge gasoline. You can buy cars. Even people in government can buy cars. Yes. You can buy the most expensive car. But must you flash them all over? The flashy lifestyle that those around the president are seeing is actually making those around the president seeing is making the public see corruption. That this is a looted money. And let's consider, if we can't fix, I think even President Ruto must agree with me. He can agree with me that UDA is disintegrating, and whatever he has is not, I don't think he's even a government now. It's just now patches. Rigathi Gachagua is giving a different press briefing in Mombasa. He's not in State House. And is blaming the NIS, who is the largest security infrastructure in the country, is NIS. And a deputy president is calling for NIS, the general, to resign. And the deputy president is saying he's been receiving confidential reports from a section of security officers on it. You don't have a government, by the way. So even the baby we are fighting for, is already dead, if you ask me. So you can give up and take up what Nelson Harvey is saying. Thank you.